Welcome, fiends of the pod. I'm your host, film critic, and comedian Nate Wyckoff. And I want to tell you that you can go to cultandclassicfilms.com to buy exclusive ultra low budget films directly from us. And I want to say this: money goes directly to the filmmakers with our films. We do not sell movies without paying the filmmakers. So you're doing good and you're getting an awesome product that is guaranteed to be so weird that all of your other friends will not believe it exists. But it does, and you can get it. You can also subscribe and get them delivered to your door every month at a big discount. Make sure you like and subscribe, tell your friends, tell your enemies, and for every like, subscription, and sale we make, we're going to bring back exploitation. I promise. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Cult and Classic.
Welcome, friends and fiends, to another episode of Cult and Classic Podcast. This is part 2 of our Studio Ghibli double feature. Last week, we talked about 1984's Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, and it's definitely an impactful fantasy war film, the film that was made by Miyazaki right before founding Studio Ghibli. And then this one is 1992's Porco Rosso, or in Japanese, Kurenai no Buta. Now, this is one of those where you tell people the plot and they just look at you like, are you stupid? Because it sounds insane. But I found it quite an enjoyable, beautiful film, and so have many others. This is one of the lesser known Studio Ghibli films here in the West. I'm not quite sure why, probably because it's so outlandish in plot. The plot is that in 1930s sort of Europe, there is a... is it the Adriatic Sea? There is a bunch of sky pirates, like Tailspin, if anybody remembers that Disney vehicle, about the same time, actually. And sky pirates, they're these silly groups of gangs, like a cutesy Mad Max, that fly around and they attack cruise ships and other things and take money and hostages. And Porco Rosso, the Crimson Pig, his actual name is Marco, is a man pig. He's a humanoid pig with a mustache who flies a red plane and is a flying ace. And he is a mercenary hired by these ship runners and things to fight off these gangs. And he's sort of a celebrity. And it turns out he's been cursed in World War I. He was a flying ace. And then when he was the only survivor of his squadron, he became a pig. And we don't really know the reason. Did he become a pig because he... why did he become a pig? Because he ran away from other people? Because he's very, very misogynistic? Those are all true things, but we don't know why exactly. He thinks it's because he survived and the others didn't, and he thinks it's because he only thinks of himself. So he sort of just has accepted that he'll be a pig forever. There's a smattering of other characters. There's Gina, who owns an island hotel and restaurant, and is sort of beloved by all sky pilots. And I don't know why I say sky pilot. What do they call them? Water boat pilots. What do they call them?
Seaplanes.
Jeez, thank you. Sorry, all aeronautics fans. Seaplane pilots. Who are treated sort of like cowboys. They're expected to be honorable and gallant and things like this, although many of them are not. And there's Gina. She owns the hotel. She's clearly in love with Marco, but he obviously won't touch that because he thinks, I'm a pig. And he is a pig. And so he ends up being ambushed basically by this obnoxious young American pilot who is trying to make a name for himself and is working for the sky pirates. And he shoots him and destroys his plane. So Marco, the pig, he's like, screw it. I'm going to go to Milan and I'm going to go to my favorite mechanic and they're going to build me a better plane. And then I'll go back and do more mercenary work. I don't really care about fighting this other guy. I'm a pig. I'm not a person. I don't have honor. So he goes to Milan. Well, Italy is in the middle of fascist rule, and they have a warrant out for him because he's a deserter from the military. And also he seems to have stolen a special plane, of which there's only one. That's alluded to, but we don't ever really know. Well, he ends up having the plane built by his mechanic's granddaughter, Theo, who is sort of this wild 17-year-old who sort of has a crush on him by the end. What I really like is that you always worry, because Porco Rosso as a character is supposed to be a womanizer, and he's definitely smooth for a walking pig, but you're always worried, like when you first see this film, that maybe he's going to become a love interest, because you do the math and he's probably like 40 something, 47ish, or 47ish, 37ish. He's somewhere in there. He's an adult, and this is a 17-year-old girl. Luckily, that doesn't happen. It's actually played very cute. And Theo is a great mechanic, and she not only rebuilds his plane to be super spectacular, but she also turns all of the other sky pirate gangs, when he returns to the Adriatic, to sort of these honorable men. But they still are mad at the pig, so they make a one-on-one fight setup, like a boxing bout, but with a dog fight, with this American guy. And the American guy and Porco Rosso have at it. They trade blows. They eventually land and start. One of my favorite scenes is when they're in the air and they both can't use their guns anymore, and they start hucking things at each other across their cockpits. It's a beautiful scene. It's fantastic until they land, and then they start a fist fight. and yeah, you don't know if the end is not ambiguous, but they have this bit which always drives me bonkers, even though I don't hate it. I just get frustrated. They tell you what happens a little, but they don't. They're like, it's going to be a secret what happens with Marco the pig and Gina, the one that clearly that he loves her, and vice versa. We don't know if they get together or not. I like to think they do, but I hate that Inception moment. I'm like, bite me, the coin fell over. So anyway, that's the plot of this movie. It has lots of fun characters. The tone, unlike Nausicaa, The Valley of the Wind, which has a serious tone and people die, this movie, the gangs of sky pirates are actually quite kind. They're very adorable to little girls that they kidnap, little schoolgirls. Everything is happy. There's excitement, but there's no danger, if that makes sense. Your kids can watch this movie without any fear of them crying. It's super fun. It's super happy. And it was a great delight, especially in the times that we're still living in now with COVID and terrible politicians and burning plastic water. So let's dive right into our thoughts. Jeff, I know you've seen this before, so what did you think watching it this time?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this movie several times. I was obviously looking at
I hear
it
paper
slightly.
turning. Did you actually write notes?
Yeah, I actually wrote notes this
wow.
week.
Going above and beyond, making us all look bad. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so I think obviously he's a sexist pig, right? Like that's his character.
Yeah, he's misogynistic, and he keeps saying things like Theo can't be my mechanic, and he eventually comes around, blah blah blah.
Yeah, and he eventually says she's the best mechanic in the world, blah 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 blah. But I think this movie's just so simple. It's just like there's really not. Again, you have like this war that's going on in the background, but it's so in the background that it doesn't feel like it affects the story at all. There's people kind of going after Porco from like all directions. The Italians are after him. This American is after him for fame. So he's getting it from all sides. So like there is like this driving force of like kind of drama, but it's all fun. Like everybody's like the dog fights are entertainment. Like the pirates coming and stealing from the cruise ship is like entertainment. They actually like during one of the scenes like they launch like some pilots, but it's like it's done in such like like they're entertaining the crews. Like the people that are like taking the cruise, they're like, hey, we got these great pilots and we're launching them, and it's going to be great fun. It's like they're getting attacked by an army of pirates, but it just has that. It has such a fun feel about it. Like everybody's having a blast. It's like, hey, come rob us. We got some defenders. We're gonna be entertained by watching them try to defend us. It's such a kind of like an awkward thing, there's like a love story in there. I don't know. It's just it really is kind of it's maybe a little bit less like message forward for kind of Miyazaki. like there's the line of sexism, but there really isn't that much kind of in terms of like morality or growth or people learning lessons or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's if anything, it's more of the life lesson sort of thing than the ethics lesson. Like, he sees that women can not only be capable but can be the better. Just like anyone can be better than anybody else at something. But he still chooses to remain sort of aloof. And we assume because he looks like a pig, although we actually don't know that he stays a pig, right? Because the final scene, we see him and the American running off to lead the Italian military away from the people fleeing the exhibition dogfight. And we hear the cowboy, the American guy, say, "Wait, your face." So we can assume that maybe he changed back, and we kind of got glimpses of him maybe changing back earlier on.
I think that, yeah, like I think it's kind of like him being at peace. Like essentially when he's at peace with himself, like he's at peace on his beach, like kind of in one of the penultimate scenes, he's
going through bullet casings at night, throwing out rusted ones. And
yeah. It seems like when he's at peace with himself and he's not thinking about, because it's like, the guilt is created.
It feels like guilt. Exactly. It feels like his curse is guilt. And maybe it's all self-inflicted, because when he explains to Theo why he thinks he's cursed, she's like, "That's not it. Like, that's stupid." Yeah. So that was great. Let's move. We're gonna get through this because I want to get to some more facts about this film. Tad, have you seen this film before? And if so, what do you think about it watching it now?
I had not seen it before. I knew about it. And I think it shot to the top of my favorite Miyazaki films, not only because it was a joy to watch, but because it now has one of my favorite lines ever. And Jeff, feel free to help me because I'm going to paraphrase here. But when he's trying to buy the repairs for his plane, and Theo's like, "Is it because I'm a woman or is it because I'm 17?" And he's like, "Honestly, it's both." And I love the fact that she doesn't get indignant about it. She's just like, "Well, I can't help being a woman."
Yeah, well, she puts him in her place there. She says to him, like, "Didn't you like win this like great sea battle when you were 17?"
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, interesting.
It was based on
too." Yeah.
Yeah, it was like based on talent, and not just experience. And like, "I can't help being a woman, but like, give me a shot." And so he kind of got put in his place, and then he gives her the shot. But it is a beautiful, like, yeah, she got you, buddy. Like,
she's my favorite character in the movie because she clearly doesn't take any shit, but she really takes a lot in stride too, and it's adorable.
And I want to mention too, this also has one of my favorite lines, which is Gina, who's voiced in the dub by Susan Egan, who is great. She was in a horrendous Disney Channel production of a weird musical version of Aladdin with Barry Bostwick from Rocky Horror Picture Show, which you can get this film both on DVD and you can get it at Riff Tracks, which is hilarious. And she does a great job playing a Chinese princess. Let's just throw that out there. Her name is Susan Egan, so we can just assume. But anyway, she does a great job voicing Gina. But Gina gets proposed to by the young American, and she gives him this speech in response. And then she says, and I think this is a direct quote, she says, "Love in the Adriatic is a little more complicated than it is in America. Go have fun in Hollywood. Go have fun in Hollywood, little boy," and walks away. And he's just like, like, I've never seen a better read in an anime film in my entire life. It was so brilliant, and I love that. I think this is a really fun film. And just throw some facts out there. This was originally made as a 45, 50-ish minute, somewhere around there, film for Japan Airlines. So people would actually watch this in the thing. And then it was during the Yugoslav wars, it was actually expanded and quote unquote made a little more serious. I don't think this is a serious film in a war sense. We've seen with Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind what Miyazaki can do with that. But it is, when it was expanded, it's very clear that World War II is preparing to happen, right? Like we get the bits that Italy is now under fascist rule. And we get the bits that that Marco Porco Rosso refuses to fight in a war anymore. We get his we have this vision from when he tells the story about when he became cursed of all these other planes. Lots of them are World War II planes, Japanese planes, Italian planes, German planes, all these planes floating up to sort of the celestial heaven, sort of, and he's going back down to earth. We get these moments where, and he has a very direct line. He's like, I'll something like, I'll never be a fascist, or like, I'd rather never fly again than fly for a fascist. Like, and it's a very direct line, and it is serious to those of us who are adults and understand the historical importance of that and that moment in time in the 30s before fully World War II. But I don't think that it actually is a film about war, right? I really don't. I think it's about maybe the effects of war, but it's about self-forgiveness and accepting and learning to love people despite limitations, but also knowing that a lot of times what people present is bullshit. And they actually have something different behind the visage. Let's go to Greg. Greg, had you seen this film before? And if so, what are your takes on it now that you've watched it for this?
Yeah, I had seen it before. I was really worried going into it again, thinking that I think the last time I saw it, I was a 18-year-old white guy, and maybe I just loved, a pig being an asshole for 2 hours, and that's what captured me. But I liked it a lot. Jeff, I really liked what you said about, maybe him being a pig is survivor's guilt. Maybe it's a metaphor for PTSD. It has this layer to it for what is ultimately a very lighthearted, thrills but no danger film. Nate, I loved what you said with the with Fia and her grandfather Piccolo, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
When like Piccolo's like, oh, like Porco, like, do you think my granddaughter's pretty? And he's like, sure, or whatever. And he's like, cool, don't touch her. And Porco's like I think don't worry about it. It makes me tired just looking at her, or something like that.
Her exhausts
like,
me,
and I'm like, that's a funny little brush off, and like just kind of, hey, don't worry, like this film's not about to be weird. It's fine. We talked about in Nausicaa and even in Princess Mononoke and so much Japanese media, Final Fantasy VII, we clearly see the ramifications of having 2 atomic bombs dropped on your country, shaping all your narratives going forward. And so it's kind of nice to have, while Porco Rosso is about World War I leading into World War II, it's not a film about mankind is destroying the fucking planet. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop bombing each other like for 5 seconds.
Yeah. And we can see why that happened, right? Because can you imagine watching a film about the horrors of bomb dropping while you're in a plane? It just
Well, that's called Graveyard of the Fire or Grave of the Fireflies, right?
Yeah.
That's Studio
Miyazaki. We did
Ghibli's.
we're not going to watch that one.
Thank you for not choosing that one.
Yeah, seriously.
Which I mean, I love this film on second go. I mean, I love Lupin the Third. I love Cowboy Bebop, Space Dandy, and these kind of have that, like, there's not a ton of danger, and it's kind of just a fun, quirky film about quote unquote gentlemen and gentlewomen duking it out for honor and pride and space or the skies or whatever.
Very, very accurate. Mandy, what was your take watching this film again? I know you've seen it before.
Oh, this is one of my favorites. I have it on the shelf right behind me that you can't see because of the magic of technology. And also that this is a podcast. It will be up online on YouTube someday, guys. I promise. Someday. I have not forgotten, but for the meantime, bear with us as we bring you tons of free content every week. Yes, but this is one that I have an actual physical copy of. I love this film. I'm so glad that we watched it. Everything you guys said, I agree with 100%. It's just thrills, no danger, really great character development, strong female characters, as always, from Miyazaki, and just like beautiful scenery and really interesting villains. Well, quote unquote villains are not like doing really bad stuff.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to the voice casting for this one, because when we talked about Princess Mononoke, I can't help but mention that I sometimes wish they wouldn't cast high profile visual actors like Michael Keaton and things, who plays Porco Rosso in this, as the voice talent, not because they're not good, but because I think there is a lot of room for people who are more specifically voice actors who can really bring a huge amount of nuance that that screen and stage actors aren't always as adept at, because they are used to having another element, another dimension to their acting, which is the visual aspect. However, we have some of the people who've made successful crossovers both ways in this one, maybe more so than Nausicaa and the Wind Valley, like Bill Fagerbake, who I always mispronounce his name, so I apologize, but he is brilliant. I remember him as a kid from as one of the assistant managers on Coach, the Craig T. Nelson vehicle, but most people will recognize him as Patrick Star from SpongeBob SquarePants, and hearing his voice at any time is true magic. He is just one of my favorite voice actors of all time. He has such a great voice, and he's used a little bit in this movie, and it's nice to hear. So just a little bit of background on this film. I already gave the info that it was originally a short and it was expanded. There's lots of historical elements worked into this in the naming of things. For example, the engine that is put into Porco Rosso's plane is it's called Ghibli, which is both a play on the name Ghibli, it's the studio's name, but also a sort of a reference to an actual, I believe, Italian engine and engine somewhere in the history of time. And there are lots of real places, that such things like the little island cove that Porco Rosso calls home, that's based off a real place. And this story in general is based off of Porco Rosso, a manga. The manga is actually called Hikautu Jidai, The Age of the Flying Boat, something like that. And it's by Hayao Miyazaki. So this is another case of him taking one of his mangas and adapting it to film with some slight changes here or there. I really like this one. I believe Miyazaki has actually said that he prefers the French dub of this film versus any other dub. And I'm sure that it's because of the European influence. And of course, Gina speaks, like, they speak French in this area. So Gina in the hotel, she sings a song in French. I think that probably he sees it as being more to the character of the piece. So that's interesting. You guys can check that out if you have the physical copy. I'm pretty sure it has the French dub on there, at least mine does. So that's an interesting side note. We're gonna slam here right into the recommendations, and I'll start. Yes, I recommend Porco Rosso. I recommend it all the time. Whereas Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind, I do think you need to have a solid 2 hours blocked out, and it's kind of intense with its themes. And I always cry when I watch it. Porco Rosso you can throw on at any point in time. Throw it on for kids, throw it on for your friends' kids, anytime you need something, because it's fun, it's flashy. And by the way, guys, even the streaming quality on HBO, but the HD transfers they have of this movie, all of the 90s and up Studio Ghibli films, it is startlingly crisp. It is absolutely beautiful. The animation is beautiful, it's crisp. I could look at these films all day. So I absolutely recommend it. This is one of those that it's good for just about anybody. Everybody's going to have a good time and not be too stressed out. Tad, would you recommend Porco Rosso? It sounds like you would.
Fuck yeah, I would. I don't really have to speak of why. Just go watch it and enjoy it.
Sounds good. I mean, it's just a fun film. And I would say, I would also suggest watching The Return of the Cat, or the Cat's Return, I think is what they call it in the American translation. But that's another Studio Ghibli film. It is not directed by Hayao Miyazaki as this and Nausicaa, The Valley of the Wind are, but they both have a similar tone. I will also caution you, I'm not going to say don't read the original manga of The Cat Returns. I believe it's called The Baron Returns. It's just a little bit depressing compared to the film, which are not. But The Cat Returns and Porco Rosso, they have this very fun, happy, funny vibe that just, it makes you happy to watch it. Jeff, would you recommend Porco Rosso? I think you hate this film.
Oh, I'm going to be real surprising here and say yes, I would suggest this. I think this one has a success in probably a broader audience because it's set in the real world and it's so light and fun. Yeah. It's, even though there are you might get triggered if you're really like just hate seeing sexism, but like,
or if you've been in World War One.
Yeah, if you actually like, we've all read the like I described in the previous review, there's like some missing chapters of Nausicaa that we like. There's all this story that's going on in this world that exists. In this one, we've read the stories, but yeah, I imagine if you've actually lived those chapters, this could be bring back some trauma. But otherwise it's just this kind of silly fun, like the pirates are having fun, the people who are hostages are having fun. Yeah. The cruise ship who's getting robbed is having fun. Everyone's just having a good time, and you will too watching it.
It's treated like one of the action stage shows at Universal Studios. There's like gunfights going off, and then there's a little joke. Mandy, would you recommend Porco Rosso?
Of course I would. It's fantastic. It's cute. It has gangs just like in Warriors, which all have their own themes.
Another family-friendly film.
Adorable. Yes. Like my favorite is like the old grandpa pirate clan.
Chicken.
And, like they're always chicken, and like I don't know. It's just so ridiculous. And like everyone said, it's so fun and so sweet and so light. But there are more thoughtful themes running throughout, as you would expect from a Miyazaki film. And yeah, it's in my top 5. So,
and I like you said, it's so light because it really does show the versatility of Studio Ghibli. Like you have Nausicaa and then you have Porco Rosso. Like both exist on the same continuum, even though there's such a different vibe and an intensity level to them. Wrapping this up with Greg, would you recommend Porco Rosso, and if so, why?
Yeah, I mean, I just love the theme. I love the vibes of it. That final boxing scene, it's just fucking great with everyone.
Their faces are pummeled. They're missing teeth.
But like everyone's there cheering them on, and it's clearly not like this mean-spirited grudge match. It's kind of just about like this, like, hey, like we're not here to kill each other, but one of us has to be the winner. That's just how it's got to be. It's a point of pride.
And they're having a full-on conversation, like a drunken conversation while they're stumbling back and forth.
Yeah, and like
having a heart to heart.
And the American is trying to get Porco to like, hey, like you should really date Gina. Like, what do you mean I should date Gina? Like she's in love with you. Like what? And then he like sucker punches him and knocks him in the water. Yeah, it's a great film. But you know what? If this is too lighthearted for you and you want a war movie to fuck you up, we talked about Grave of the Fireflies. It's a great movie where a couple kids get killed, which isn't a spoiler because they tell you that at the very beginning. Hey, we're dead. Let me tell you how it happened. But yeah, more seriously, yeah, Porco Rosso's great. It's very lighthearted.
That one too. I mean,
yes,
Grave of the Fireflies, it is one of those films. If you want to impart to someone the impact of war, especially World War II and the dropping of atomic bombs and things, Grave of the Fireflies is one of those where I literally would be afraid of someone who isn't shaken by watching that movie. And it's beautiful and it's just crushing. I have my copy that I've had for many years and I've watched it once since purchasing it. It's that intense. I have it because I respect it, and I think it gave me a new understanding of what it meant to be heartbroken and careful and tragedy and all those things. But it's a powerful film. So go pair that one up with something that is, I don't know, a Xanax and a nap. But yeah, so that's it for this second part of our Studio Ghibli double feature. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, we'll be back with a new episode for a new pair of mainstream and cult films that are thematically linked next Tuesday. Catch our Friday mini-sones where we do movie reviews and game reviews and all sorts of cool stuff. And let us know what you think. Write a review, of course, on your favorite podcast searching platform, and send us mail at cultandclassicpodcast@gmail.com or on our Facebook or Instagram, which you should also follow and like, at Cult and Classic Podcast. Thank you guys so much. And to play us out, as always, is the Chud with All About Evil. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to Cult and Classic Podcast. This podcast is important to me, but what's more important are the rights,
privileges, and freedom from violence of everyone in this country and in this world. And that means supporting Black Lives Matter. If you'd like to make a donation, please go ahead and visit coltonclassicpodcast.com, where we have a list of places you can donate and help out. And please stay safe.